What is up? I hope all y'all are having a blessed day.
Welcome to the Life Off the Dome podcast, featuring Ativ Mother
And Caleb Wong. Relax, get your snacks ready
and live your best life.
as you listen to the Life Off the Dome podcast.
So, bro, how important do you think it is to make friends, like in high school?
See, the thing is, I feel like high school is the time where you're supposed to have fun and truly value that time. You're at such a young age, but at the same time, it's like, don't, like, I understand studying and taking care and valuing what you have and using your resources to the maximum, which I think is very important, especially for us too, because we have so many resources and we got very fortunate. But like I think at the same time, when you're in high school, you want to have fun, right? And you want to enjoy that time. But I think that as far as it goes for me, like I want to have friends in high school because it's like I want to enjoy my time there. It's like if you can be content with your friends, I think that that's such a valuable thing because then you can truly enjoy what you have, right? What do you think?
But I feel like at the same time, dude, like when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, okay, like think about elementary school, middle school. You thought that making friends was so important, and like it was like the end all be all. But now you've like, for me, like the friends I've been in elementary school, middle school. Of course, I'm still close with them, but for the most part, I don't really care or think about them most of the time. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's more important to prioritize your education and setting yourself up for success more than making friends. But I mean, like, I get what you're saying, but I feel like sometimes people make it more deep than it has to be, and it lets them affect their mental health and their
I
well-being.
understand what you're
But
saying,
it doesn't have to.
but human nature is to want people to like you, right? And
Yeah.
humans are social beings, right?
Yeah.
So like, while I wish that I wish that all humans could, like, I wish that it was possible to never care about anyone's thought of me at all times. But at the same time, I think that that's something that's impossible to have happen because, as I just said, human beings care about what people think of them. It's
So-
just natural.
So do you think it would be more beneficial to care too much about what people think, or to not care at all?
Not care at all because
But then
it's like,
but then you end up having a social disconnect from people. So I
but
think
you
it's
don't
important
care,
to care
right?
to an extent.
Yeah, I think it is important to care to an extent, but at the same time, I think that once you start caring, it's so hard to get that right amount of caring because after a while, it's like the more you care, the more it's gonna affect your mental.
Yeah.
Because I heard someone told me this quote: "The more aware you are, the less happy you will be." I think it's kind of
Definitely.
true
That's so true.
because it's like the more aware you are, the more you realize what's happening in the world.
The
What's
more you
happening
care,
to
the
you.
worse you're gonna be, bro.
Exactly. But I think that, like as you said, I mean, if you don't care at all, I think that you can find happiness in that. And it's like if you don't care at all you care about is yourself, what you're doing, then that's something that will bring happiness or contentness if you can be content in what you're doing yourself.
I mean, like, I've told you this already, but I think the key to life to be happy is not to find happiness, but to find contentness, you know? And I feel
Yeah, I
like
know what you mean.
I feel like the difference is like, for me, how I see it is like happiness is an emotion and it's fleeting. But instead of searching because bro, when you think about it, happiness is literally a dopamine reaction human beings create to survive, right? So like when you think about happiness, really at the end of the day, what happiness is a way to like give human beings dopamine when they do something to try to survive. That's why human beings feel happiness when they make friends, because human beings are more likely to survive in a pack, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like relying on certain things that you can't control to be happy are never going to serve you well, because then you rely on factors that are out of your control in order to find happiness.
Well, if you rely on something else, you're never going to be happy because you're never going to accept what you have, right? If you're always relying on something else, you're always chasing something. How will you find happiness in that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you can't accept what you have, then you're never going to be happy.
You know, like the one idea I really like is, you know how J. Cole said you like love yours? You know his song Love
No
Yours?
such thing as a life that's better than yours.
I think that quote's so true, because what he's saying, really what he's saying is, even it's like good to chase more things and it's good to want to be better than you already are, but you're never going to truly be happy until you really love your life, because at the end of the day, that's all you got.
Exactly. I think that he's completely right about that. But at the same time, I think that that's one of the hardest things to actually accomplish, truly loving and accepting what you have. I think that there's such a small amount of fraction, such a fraction of human beings that can actually have that happen. It's like if you actually can find that, then you're already at such a high stage in life that I think that most people can't reach.
You know what I think is really important? I think gratitude is really important, bro.
And that's where it all stems from. If you're grateful with what you have, you're probably going to get to a level of contentness, which is going to bring you to a level of peace.
I feel like that's one of the most underrated things, like doing gratitude journals and stuff.
Yeah,
Like it's so overrated, but it's so helpful and it's so like
overrated.
yeah, like no one does gratitude journals.
So is it overrated or underrated?
Underrated, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, that's what I meant. But like, I feel like no one like really, like everyone wants to be happy, but no one takes the steps to be happy. They just like they don't really think it through, and they make it that like, oh, I need more money, or I need more friends, or I need a bigger house or a better car in order to be happy. And subconsciously, they rely on these outer factors to become happy. When in reality, in order to be happy, you have to find that from within. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but at the same time, like, how many people can actually just be happy with what they have?
It's really hard. I know.
Because human beings are always wanting to chase something else. They always want to go to the next step, right?
And I think that's one of the reasons why human beings are so great, because they have this drive to be better and to be greater.
Okay, so what do you think about the great Kobe Bryant? What do you think about? Have you ever read Mamba Mentality, the book?
Now, have you?
Yeah, I have.
So we'll give the audience like a little summary as to what the book's about.
So essentially, Mamba Mentality just talks about how you should never be complacent. You should always chase more, always want more. And the Mamba Mentality is basically just always trying to chase more, always trying to be greater than what you already are. So what do you think about that?
I mean, like I think obviously there's like a yin and yang to it, because on one hand, obviously you want to be better than you were yesterday, and like one of the philosophy I've adapted is the philosophy of Kaizen, the philosophy of getting 1% better every day, right? So
Yeah,
you want to improve and you want to find a state of constant improvement, and you don't want to stay at the same place you've always been at. But I feel like there's a difference, and this is really important. This is a key information. There's a difference between wanting to be greater and relying your happiness on being greater. My mindset is I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as good as I am going to be, but I understand that today I was better than I was yesterday. And that's why I'm satisfied with where I'm at today. And that's really important. I'm not I'm not content with where I am, but I'm content with the improvement I've made.
oh, I like that a lot, actually.
And I feel like one thing is like if you go to the gym, or if you go to run a business, or even this podcast you're doing, it's not going to be linear, you know? It's
Yeah,
not
it's
just
not
going to
gonna
be
always increase right
it's
away.
not going to you're not going to see constant improvement. And one quote I really like is, why would you ever plant a seed and then dig up the seed 2 days later to see if it grew? It takes
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It takes patience. And it takes constantly watering the seed and putting effort into it. But I feel like Kobe Bryant and the mob mentality, to an extent, is true. You have to water the seed and you have to put patience and growth into it. But I feel like there's obviously the other extreme, which is like constantly chasing something and like almost blindly running after something. While it's great to chase a goal, I feel like sometimes it can cloud your judgment and cloud your happiness. Because like one question, and that I'll ask you and I'll ask the audience is, do you think Kobe Bryant was ever happy? Or do you think that he was so driven towards his goal he wasn't able to appreciate what he already had?
I'm not gonna lie, this may sound stupid, but I don't even think he had the time to think about anything other than working and sleeping. It's like when you read the book, he talks about how he needed to get more sleep and he sacrificed so much. It feels like all he was ever doing was either playing basketball, recovering, or sleeping. It doesn't feel like he was ever doing anything else. And it's like, I don't know how you can possibly be happy with that life or be content with it. It's like my prayers go out to him and his family. He died at such a young age as well, and right when he was probably starting to enjoy his life and actually find peace, content, and happiness. It's like he passed, right?
Yeah,
So while he was playing basketball, I don't know if he was happy or content, but I think that that's just how his mind worked after a while because he got so preconditioned to putting in all that work over and over again. It's like after a while, I think that he got addicted, and I think he talked about that in the book, how
hmm,
he needed to get more sleep instead of working so hard. But I think that he overworked his body because he got addicted. He was a workaholic,
yeah,
and I don't think that that's healthy at all. I think he knows it. And I doubt that he was happy or content with what he was doing. But I think that once he retired, I would assume he was starting to find a piece of his mind where he could be content and happy in what he was doing.
yeah.
And sadly, God took his life away. And there must have been a reason why. I do not know why.
Do you think he found peace and contentment towards the end of his life though? Or do you think, because like you said, he was addicted to winning, he was addicted to that drive. So, like, obviously, we'll never know if he found peace and contentment because we weren't him, we weren't in the
Yeah,
situation. But thinking about an athlete that is alive, like Tom Brady, I mean, he's known as one of, if not the greatest
football
athlete or
player.
football player of all
Yeah,
time. Some say he's the greatest athlete of all time. He's made millions, if not, has he made billions?
not yet.
But he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. He's the most accomplished football player of all time by far. And when you think about it, he has so much money, he has so much success, he has so much wealth, but now he's
These
divorced.
are all surface level things, though.
He's divorced. He doesn't have a family, but he's accomplished so much. But when you think about it, Tom Brady right now, even though he's retired and he's done all this, I would argue that I don't think he's happy. And obviously, we'll never know. But like, he's not happy because I don't think happiness comes from these things. I think what happiness comes from is genuine connections with other human beings. I think that's what makes you happy.
You think love is the driving force of
I think
human?
love's the answer.
Think love is the answer to life?
I think love's the answer to a lot of questions, and I think love's the answer to life. Yes. What do you think about that?
Do you think that you can find? Do you think that you can make someone the one, or do you think that there is only one specific person out there for you?
I don't. I think that you can find. I don't think that any relationship's perfect, right? So like, I don't think you have a soulmate and you get married and you never fight. No matter who you marry, you guys are gonna fight and you guys are gonna go through a lot. You guys are gonna have to talk it out and talk it through,
Yeah,
as in any relationship, right?
yeah,
But I feel like, as in anything, relationships and love and communicate and interactions with people, it takes work, right?
yeah,
And I mean, you can't. I don't think you find a one, but I feel like there are people who you're better fit with than others, and
yeah, for sure.
I know a lot of people who their personalities just don't intermingle well, and like they might have gotten married at a younger age, or might have been like an arranged marriage or something, but the marriage was just never meant to work out, you know.
Yeah,
But I also know other people where like maybe the marriage was meant to work out, but they just didn't understand the fact that they weren't able to talk it through or talk it out because maybe like someone in the relationship was too driven with their business or with trying to create money or trying to earn money or
that seems
something.
like what happened with Tom Brady and Giselle Bundchen, right?
Definitely
Probably broke up with him or divorced him because he wasn't willing to spend time with the family. And after a while, I think that I understand what Giselle Bundchen did.
makes sense. I mean, you want to have kids, right?
I think every single person does. I don't know how many I want to have, but yeah, I do want to continue the bloodline. What about you?
Yeah, but like I was talking to my parents about it, and I just like talking to other people, and I think in general, like an experience like having kids really changes your life, you know. And like I've heard about like a lot of like tough,
Yeah, I was
hardened
talking
people who
earlier.
get like who soften up a
Yeah,
lot when it comes to having
my
kids.
mom told me she was an extremely selfish person. Then once she had me, her whole life changed.
Shout out Nilu Gutch.
No, 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 don't say yeah, shout out mom. But what I heard is that like when you have a kid, a whole different part of you basically gets activated, right? It's
Yeah,
like a whole different love that you can never understand if you don't have it. That's what my mom tells me. I'll never be able to comprehend how much she loves me until I have a kid.
definitely. And I feel like the love you have for your parents, the love you have for your wife, the love you have for your kids are obviously going to be very different, but it's going to be stuff that you hold very dear to your heart.
Yeah, but I think that a parent's love will not. Yeah, the amount of love a parent has for a child
Yeah,
can
that's
never
true.
be matched.
That's
So
true.
my mom told me that your parents are the only people that will A, never judge, and B, never hold a grudge. What do you think of that?
I think it's true, but I feel like one thing kind of adding on to what you're saying that's really true is one thing I realized about not only parents, but or I guess mostly parents, is that your parents, but especially for like as a man, my father is the only person that's gonna want me to be better than he was.
Yeah,
Whether you have like even if I have friends I was close to, there's obviously some selfish need in it.
yeah, your parents will
Friends or
never
even
be
like my
jealous.
wife or even like my
Anyone.
even your son, yeah, but like your parents are the only people that want you to be better than they were and that want you to succeed more than they had. And that's why they want to set you up so badly for success.
Yeah, I hope that for everyone that's listening, this is the same way for their parents. But it's like your parents put all their love, all their effort, all their energy into their kid, right? Once they have a kid, that's their complete focus. My mom told me that when I succeed, it makes her happier than when she succeeds.
Definitely, that makes so much sense.
Do you think?
Human beings are just wired that way. Okay, so this is what I ask you, right? So how I see it is when you break it down to an evolutionary standpoint, human beings are meant to do two things: to survive and reproduce. That's what we're built for, right? That's why when we get hungry, our body like makes us crave food, and when we get thirst, and when our body lacks water or lacks liquids, our body makes us thirsty, right?
When we
And
quench
that's
our thirst with water.
exactly, and that's why when you feel pain, your body shows you pain to help you survive, right?
Yes, sir.
And then on the other hand, the reason why human beings are are so have such a high sex drive, or what's the word you use for sex drive?
Libido.
Libido, is because we're meant to reproduce and we're meant to create children, right?
Yeah.
But one idea I've never understood is the whole idea of love, or the whole idea of caring about someone so you're willing to sacrifice yourself, goes against the whole idea of reproduction and the whole idea of survival. And I think human beings are the only animals to feel this way, you know?
I would assume so. Yeah. Because
So this shows me that there has to be a God or someone out there, because love goes against the whole idea of reproduction. Because if you love one person so much, you're not going to want to reproduce with multiple people. And even the idea of survival, because you're willing to sacrifice your health and your well-being for the sake of another human being. So what do you think that tells you about human nature? But also, what do you think that tells you about a greater being?
oh, wow, that's a very good question. As far as for human nature goes, going back to what you said earlier, it shows how much, or it shows love, right? It shows also how much humans need another person in their life. Cause it's like, hold up, this is a very good question.
Hmm.
But it shows that if you're willing to do so much for one person, it shows that you love them so much that you'll basically do anything for them, no? And what do you think the definition of love is? Putting someone else before yourself?
I think so, yeah. Willing to sacrifice your own well-being for the sake of another human being. And that
Well,
goes against everything.
it does. But I think that that shows that how emotional humans are,
Yeah.
how social humans are. I think that that's what it connects to.
And like,
I think it connects to human nature, emotions, and how the human brain is. So I would assume that the human brain is the most complicated of any, and we're also the most developed, right?
yeah.
So I think that that just shows that humans are the most evolved creatures on this planet Earth. I think as far as a greater being, that part is confusing to me. I'm not gonna lie. That's something that I have not thought of. But I think that there is definitely a greater being on Earth. I think that there is a God, probably multiple gods. Um, but I think that God has a plan for everyone, or the gods have a plan for everyone. And I think that once you meet someone, it's usually meant to be.
I feel like how I see it is like, in this earth, we're never going to know if there's a God or not, right? Like, we're never going to find the answer.
Yeah,
And I feel like human beings are so wired to look for an answer and to figure things out. That's why we've made it so far. And that's why we've made such fast developments and we've evolved so quickly, because we're so good at finding answers and figuring things out. But I feel like the thing with God is human beings will never know until we die. And obviously, for the viewers and for us, it's a very scary and stressful thing. But I feel like part of it's also beautiful. Sometimes we're not meant to know the answer, and sometimes it's okay not to know the answer. You know,
yeah. So you think that you should find the beauty in the ambiguity?
and the unknown, yeah. And I feel like sometimes you just gotta live your life and accept the fact that you're never gonna know the answer. But like I said, obviously there are different religions, different beliefs, different thoughts on God and who God is and whatnot. But I feel like at the end of the day, if your idea of God gives you peace, whether it's true or not, I feel like that in itself makes it real, if that makes sense. Because it
Yeah.
gives you peace in death and gives you peace in knowing that your loved ones are in a better place. And I feel like that in itself is real.
So as far as death goes, what do you think happens once a human dies?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue. And I have just as good as a guess on anyone on earth, but I do feel like there is a God for the reasons I stated before. But I also feel like so many different people throughout history have such a firm held belief of God that it has to be real, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not just a placebo effect, you know? You've had so many different forms of worship throughout history of this greater being. And I feel like the reason why is because human beings are driven to want to believe that there is something greater, but they're also persuaded that there's something bigger. And when you think about my mom, for example, right? My mom is an avid Christian,
Okay.
and she's seen in her life miracles performed on her and on her loved ones that's proved to her that God is real multiple times,
So do
again
you
and
think that
again
our
and again.
past experiences shape how we view the greater being?
Definitely. And I feel like if I was born to another family, or if I was born in a different country, or if I was born in different circumstances, my opinion on God and my opinion on religion would be very, very different because it depends on where you're born and where you
I
live.
think that yeah, religion is completely based off of how you were raised.
But one thing I think is stupid is like that, real, like I don't want to throw shade or like throw a diss at any other religion, but I feel like like you know in in the Muslim religion, sometimes some people within the religion, and I don't think this has anything to do with the religion itself, but some people and some very extreme organizations will kill or will murder other people in the name of quote unquote God and with the name of Allah, right? And I feel like that whole idea is something that never made sense to me because I feel like the whole idea of God is the idea of love and the idea of kindness. And I don't think it's attached to Muslim or attached to a certain religion, but just this idea of certain organizations killing human beings for God is something that's never made sense
Is
to
that
me.
how it works?
Well, yeah, when you think about 9/11, when you think about right now what's going on with Israel and
They're doing that for
Hamas,
God?
they're doing that. Yeah,
I don't know that. That's horrible.
you didn't know about the 9/11 stuff?
No?
What do you think they did the 9/11 for?
They're this bad people. They did it.
You think human beings would want to kill human beings just for the sake of killing?
They did it because of God?
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, when you think about terrorist organizations like ISIS, like Hamas, they're religious organizations.
Really?
Yeah, and everything that they're doing, they claim to be doing it in the name of God and in the name of Allah. And like as I
That goes
said,
completely against what God believes in, though, no?
it does, yeah. But I feel like some people have such a warped idea of who God is and what God serves and the purpose of God that it changes the whole perspective.
What do you think their mindset is?
I'm not sure.
That doesn't make sense at all. They would kill other people because of God?
Yeah. Or actually, I'm not sure if that's what's going on with Israel and
Yeah,
Palestine.
but that's what happened in 9/11.
I'm not that educated. Yeah, that's what happened 9/11.
Really?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I
man.
doubt God would ever want you to do that.
But then like the meme like Allah Akbar. That's where it comes from.
The only time I've ever heard that was Frank Ocean.
Really?
Yeah, Frank Ocean. I'm very confused on what it means though.
Yeah. It means praise God and I think it's a foreign language. I'm not sure which one.
Arabic?
Yeah, I think it's Arabic.
Probably.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there must be a God somewhere out there.
You think so?
I was raised also to believe that there are gods.
I hope there's an afterlife because I think I hope that all my loved ones, when they die, they're in a better place and they're looking over me. And I think it's a really scary thought to think that they just cease to exist, you know?
You think so?
Yeah. I've always been scared of that since I was little.
Then you can never talk to them again?
I guess part of that, but also part of the fact that I'm not really ready to not exist, you know? I feel like I still have a lot to do. And
Yeah.
even when I'm old, I still feel like there's still a lot I want to do and a lot I want to accomplish, you know?
You're also extremely young though.
Yeah, but like I feel like it's kind of weird. Like to think about how big the universe is and think about how infinite the world is, right? And not the world, the universe and the Milky Way and the galaxy.
Yeah.
When you think about it, we're just a speck on all of this.
That's such a depressing way to view it though, no? It's
No,
true, but it's like
it's like the thought nothing matters. You can either look at it in a bad way or a very good way, right?
yeah, sure.
Our lives are have no meaning at all.
But every
You could view
human,
it as a bad way or you could view it
yeah,
as a good
every
way.
human being is living in their own certain bubble,
Yeah.
and that's what makes up the world.
And like I don't know where I got this, but like I was reading about this like idea and like I don't remember what it's called, but essentially it's the idea of realizing that everyone else on earth has lives just as complex and just as real as yours. Because it's so easy to think like other people are just a speck in your life, right? Like when someone passes you in the street, you probably don't pay them no attention. But you do have to remember that they have their own complex lives with their own complex ideas, with their own complex feelings and emotions.
Yeah, it's very true. But everyone's trying to figure out their own stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. you know, and finding their own happiness and finding their own peace. And I think there's some beauty to that, you know?
Yeah, at the end of the day, who's the most important person in your life?
You.
Exactly.
And like when it brings you back to this whole idea of like ego and like you said on the last podcast, everyone has very selfish intents and everyone looks out for themselves number one at the end of the day, except again when it
Parents.
comes to parents. And like actually in the boys, like I was talking to you about in the last episode, the boys is a very good representation of this because the main character, Homelander,
Mm-hmm.
he's the most selfish character throughout the book. Like he kills people for no reason. He's willing to kill like 100 people just to feel a little bit of happiness, right?
Really?
But he's so much more powerful than the average human being. He doesn't really value human life because he sees himself as so much greater than everyone else. But then it turns out he does have a son, and he finds out he has a son in the last episode. And in the last episode, he cares about his son so much that he almost like sacrifices his own life for his son. That he's only known for like a week. And
That just
it's
goes to show the love that we will never
exactly.
understand unless we have a kid.
And I feel like having a child, I don't obviously we've never experienced it, but it must be such a beautiful and powerful thing, you know.
Probably the greatest day in a parent's life.
My parents told me it was the greatest day.
It has to be, right?
Yeah,
It's
man.
basically like a greater being right in front of you.
Yeah, and like you see a lot of people who like are miserable, depressed, and they have kids, and it really changes their life around, it turns their life around.
Really?
Or like find a woman that can turn their life around. I feel like that's it. That's
The meaning of life?
yeah. I feel like building genuine connections with human beings is the meaning of life. It's not money or wealth because at the end of the day, like I said, nothing is guaranteed except this next moment you have, right?
Yeah.
So money to an extent can give you happiness.
It gives you security.
Wealth and success to an extent can give you happiness. It can give you security and it can give you peace, but I don't think it can give you content because nothing is as fulfilling as building genuine connections with other human beings and finding joy within that.
Yeah, that's very true. Like the brain works in the way that you want to meet new people, want to talk about other stuff, right? You're always trying to talk about new ideas, talk about new things. No matter how introverted of a human being you are, it's like I think that everyone needs someone to talk about something with, whether that's your parents, your siblings, or your friends, your grandparents, family, anything. I think that everyone has, I would hope, has at least one person that they can talk to. It doesn't have to be a friend. It
Yeah.
can be family.
And I feel like also adding on to what you're saying, like another idea that human beings have built onto is like the idea that like in order to be happy or in order to find happiness, you have to live an extraordinary life, right? Like you have to be a pro athlete and like make a lot of money or like live in a luxurious house or like live a special moment, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like what I realized is the way to be happy is to make your ordinary life extraordinary or to find an ordinary moment and make that ordinary moment extraordinary. Find an ordinary moment and make that moment extraordinary.
But you know, we could also be saying this because we're already so fortunate. Like, think about, because we are extremely blessed and lucky to have the life we have, right? And be
Mhm.
raised with everything we have.
No, that's actually one thing I don't think. Because I feel like you can find joy in the mundane moments. Like anyone can has the ability to laugh, right?
Yeah.
I'm not like you don't have to see the sunset on a perfect day to be happy. Like the little moments that you don't notice, like listening to your favorite song or taking a bite of a food you really craved or laughing, even if it's like in a 10-minute passing period on a Monday afternoon in school when you have nothing to do this afternoon like laughing with your friend on from one class to another. I think that's what makes life worth living. These mundane little moments in life that make life happy. And obviously you're gonna have your extraordinary moments like kissing a girl you wanted to kiss, or like getting that job or getting that raise, or like, you know, getting married or going on vacation. Obviously you're gonna have these extraordinary moments that are gonna be core memories for you. But since these moments are so rare, you're not gonna be happy unless you enjoy these mundane moments. And you know how, like, me and you were talking about how, like, every day seems the same?
Yeah.
You have to find joy and you have to find purpose within those little moments and those
The
little instants of
differences, that's
time.
what's going to make the differences. Yeah. I mean, no, I think that you're completely right about that. Because it's like laughing seems like such a small thing, but at the same time, at the end of the day, after a while, the laughter is going to put a smile on your face, right? I think
Yeah.
it's scientifically proven that smiling makes you happier or something like that. It's like you're completely right. The little moments are what brings happiness because like they're going to build on top of each other. And it's like usually if you can go to a class after you've just smiled or laughed, you're just gonna be in a better mood. You're gonna want to be in that class more because you're gonna be more aware. Not aware, sorry, more. You're just gonna be in a better mood overall, right?
Yeah.
So you're completely right about the fact that the small things are what gives you the most happiness.
And I also feel like you can, and I'm actually gonna end with this idea that you can't ever underestimate the mundane moments of life, the small moments of life, right? You have to really enjoy it because you never know how often those moments are gonna come, right? So like laughing with a friend, as I said, or taking a bite of food, or listening to a music, or enjoying a hobby you enjoy. As you said, or as I think about, even though this time in your life seems ordinary and seems mundane, and even though your body is used to it, think about how much you would give in 10 years to come back to this very moment. Think about how
Exactly.
much you would give later down the road when you're sitting in your hospital bed and you're dying and you think about your life. Think about how much you would give to go back to these prime years of your life and relive it and enjoy it. So
Never
instead of feeling
take
sorry for
life
yourself,
for
enjoy what you
granted.
have. Love yours.
Exactly. Never take life for granted.
All
Live
right.
in the moment.
This is Caleb Wong,
This is Ativ Mathur.
and thank you for listening to
Life off the dome.
See y'all next time.
Goodbye.